So basically, to bring this URL HTTP localhost files sample.txt. Here, the sample and txt is dynamic in nature. So to detect with the different non-static value, we use a concept called route parameter. How to do that route parameter? Here, you had this one I don't want, I'm deleting because which is not useful. And this one I got the endpoints and I'm using the use endpoints as well. So here I'm also removing this get endpoints right now. As part of this code, this is how the actual structure, right? Now in the structure, get use endpoints, HTTP ://localhost /files /sample.txt. This is the value I need to pass. How to create a map? How to create an endpoint mapping? So you have to use endpoints dot map map. Okay, here you have to say in the double quotes files / and you need to pass a parameter. What is your parameter? Sample.txt. And then this should map with a context, async context object equal to, here you have to pass like this. Now I got the context. So what you need to do, since it is an async context, you have to use await. Okay, await context dot response dot write async, say reached file endpoint. Okay, and then you have to place it. So what I did, if you are passing files dots /sample.txt, this particular controller, this particular endpoint will be matched, corresponding middleware will get executed. Now you see here, I'm putting a breakpoint here. See, the default URL mapping happened. Where this default URL mapping? Under use method, you will have a default URL mapping, right? So when I use this value, copy /paste, enter. Now which map has been created? This endpoint has been matched or not?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then it will say reached files endpoint. Sir, if I pass,
just one small.
Yeah.
Don't we need to use in the get method here? We are directly extracting the data. We don't we need to use the get method here?
Not required. If at all use, you can use map get map post. That yesterday we discussed, right?
Yeah. So that's
right now I'm following the map.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It's up to you to decide which method you want, but just to understand. Okay. Now, sir, if I planning here default.txt, when I enter, it will not work. Why? Because this value always be dynamic in nature. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Till file will be your static. This will be dynamic in nature. To handle this, what you have to do, you have to go for extension. What you will do, you simply use like this and say file name. Clear my point? Clear
Yes,
my
sir.
point or not?
Yes, yes.
So when you use like this, any type of file name will be accepted. You see here. Now you pass file name dot default text. Now it is happening or it is reaching or not? Because this file name is default. Because of the variable component. Now if you pass here sample dot text, it will also work. You pass anything. But if you pass here, instead of txc, you pass docx, it will not work. Because this extension also dynamic in nature. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do? You have to make this as extension. Clear? Now you go and save. Try to run the project. Now you pass PDF. It is working because it should be on any extension type. If you pass docx, if you pass exe, anything can be accepted. Or you got my point? Chaitanya and Nitin? Nitin, Chaitanya. Are you able to hear me?
So 1 second, sir. I think my net is not good. 1 second, I will rejoin.
Hello? Chaitanya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, now here, this file name I need to catch and I have to pass here as a parameter. How to do that? For that, string file name equal to context dot. Before I have to do, I have to use context dot request dot route values. Okay, this route values has file name. Okay, context dot request dot route value of toString. Right? And you can convert this route value, convert dot toString. Okay, now you can say here, I want to append this. For that, I'm going to use a dollar. Where is my dollar? Dollar. file endpoint name is, reached file name is, you have to pass here file name variable what I got. Okay, now build it, succeeded, run. See here I'm passing file name dot sample dot txt. You see here it got the detection. What is the file name I received?
Sample.
So I can able to detect my file name. You see,
Yes, sir.
reached file name is sample.
Sample.
Sir, I want to get the extension also. How to do that? Simply copy the same stuff, paste here, take this extension, okay, and go to the variable, say extension, and then here you can say dot extension. Now build the project. IAS Express. Now I am passing the sample txt. I got the file reached. I got the file reached or not? Chaitanya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
You see here, my URL is sample.txt. The text what the reaches sample.txt. Both are same.
Yes, sir.
So this is how you have to update. Now, if you look into here, default.txt. You got the default.txt? Sir,
Yes, sir.
I want to change default.pdf. You got the PDF? So this is called route parameter. Or you got my point? So what you are doing, the actual URL will be static. These two are parameters as a dynamic in nature. So what is route parameter concept? This will help to determine the route value dynamically with the help of parameter, right? Or you got my point?
Yes, sir.
Example, map dot app dot map files slash, and then you have to use file name slash extension, okay, comma request delegate call. Okay, here files slash or static value in the URL. Static value in the URL. Whereas file name and extension or dynamic value from the URL. We need to detect those values. We need to detect those values to create a route parameter. You got my point? So how are you detecting this route parameter? To detecting the route parameter with the variables. You got my point? Extension variables are holding dynamic value. Holding dynamic value from the URL. We need to detect those values to create a concept called route parameter. Now you understand what is route parameter? It's very easy or tough. Huh?
So one doubt, sir. Can we use a real-time example? Like, can we open a real file that we have in our local system?
I'll come. We will do that. Don't worry. See, for example, you have another example. You are giving another example saying that localhost employee /6. You got my point? If you pass only employee, it will list the list of employees. If you pass 6, it will list the employee ID. You got my point? How are you going to contribute?
Yeah.
Here, you take this URL, paste here. Here, endpoint dot map. What you will do? You take these two. Okay. And instead of 6, you will give ID. Right? Async context. Async context. Right? Async context. Now what you will do? You will use a integer 16 or int 32 of id value equal to convert dot 2 int 32 context dot request dot route values request dot route values of you have to pass this ID. Right? Now await context dot response dot write async. The reached employee ID is ID. So how to detect that? For that you have to use dollar symbol and close. Clear my point? ID value is my variable. Done. Build the project. Run. Listen carefully. slash employee slash 5. You got the value of 5? So that this request will give you employee ID value 5 related information and post it. I got my point. Sir, if I'm not passing 5, what will happen? It is going to the default URL. Is it a good way? Is it a good way?
No, sir, it should show the details of the employee, no?
Come again?
It should show the details of employee, right?
No, it
like
will
the
show
old
the
data.
details of the employee. That is fine, but I don't have a URL mapped, right? For that, you have to detect another endpoint. So what you need to write? You need to create another endpoint, right?
Yeah.
Then only, otherwise it will go to the default.
Mm-hmm.
It will come to here. So if you want an employee detail, what you will do? You will copy the same thing. You will say, I don't want this. And say simply display list of employee. That's it, right? Display
Yes, sir.
list of employees. Now it will work the way what you are expecting. When you run, employee, enter. Now it will display the list of employees. Or you got my point?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
But sir, I don't want this default parameter I need to set for this employee ID. Even though if they are pass or not pass, I want to create a default value. What I will do, if you are not passing a value, I will simply say 5. Right? What will happen? We'll listen. This is called default parameter. Default, I'm giving a parameter. Here, I'm going to use employee 5, or I'm not giving any value. Enter. It is taking a default parameter. Got my point?
Yeah.
Whether the value is available or not, it will. If the value is available, that value will be executed. If the value is not available, it will take the default value of 5.
Okay.
Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So how to do that? Now, if you pass 6 here, you see the value will change. Nothing will break. But if you are not passing value, default value will take.
Yes, sir.
That is the difference between default value of route parameter. How to define default value of route parameter?
ID equals to the default value.
Point number 1, default value of route parameter. Oh. If we are not passing any value in the URL, route attribute, sorry, endpoint automatically assign a default value in the route URL is known as default value of route parameter. Default value of route parameter. Right? How to define that in my map? Simply, I have to use this. Example, this is the one. Code snippet. Code snippet is this. Comma. What I will say? Code snippet is what? request delegate method. Delegate method. This is one way. So this is called default value of route parameter. Sir, if I am not passing any value, even though it has to detect, how? Optional parameter of route value. Optional parameter of route value. This is the scenario 3. See, this is my scenario 1. Scenario 1. And another one is scenario 2. This example is called as scenario 2. Right? Now I am going for scenario 3, which is called as optional parameter. Scenario 3. Sir, even though you are not passing any ID value, you can make this as optional by using question mark. That's all. You got my point? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have to simply say question mark. Now, when you run it, you see here, this will get detected. Here, employee, enter. What is the value of ID?
5.
ID value is 0 because optional, but
Yeah.
it will detect. Reached employee ID is 0. Sir, this is not the right way to handle the mechanism. What I want to do, I have to check a condition. According to that, I have to write a logic. So what I will do here inside, if context dot request method equal to get, not use that. Simply say context dot query dot contain keys of ID. Then you pass this. You put this. Else part, you simply say context dot response dot write async of please pass employee ID in the URL. Please pass employee ID in as a query string. I'll simply use like this so that everyone can understand meaningfully. Or instead of query string, nobody will understand. So I can simply say not query string. I will use URL. But in the home, I need to make await because it is a concept. Now it will everything gone. Now build the project. Now try to run. I am restricting the user to pass some value. Got my point? Now here, employees enter. You see what it is expecting? Optional parameter.
Yeah.
You understand what I am writing? See,
Yes, sir.
I'm simply checking whether the request contain a key of ID or not. If the request doesn't contain an ID, I'm expecting an ID from the user, right? This is called optional parameter. If I pass a value of 10, if I pass a value of 10, what happened? something wrong. Let me close the browser. Put a breakpoint here. If I pass a value of 10, now it detects the ID. You see, this ID has a value of 10. What happened? Yes, true. F11. Why? What the hell, man? Now you remove this dot equals of true. There's something wrong, man.
Context.
Sorry, it is not query, it is a route value. That is the reason. Query string means question mark. Route value means something different. Now you pass 10. F11, it is going in, taking the value, run that. Right? Sir, if I'm not passing value, what will happen, sir? It will expecting the URL ID. So this is called optional parameter. This is called optional parameter. So how to handle that optional parameter? By using a question mark. By using quote snippet. Endpoint.map, comma request delegate. Request delegate method call. Method call. Right? So what
Yes.
it is meaning? What it is meaning? If user doesn't pass any parameter as a value, as a dynamic value, we can handle that URL using optional parameter in route config of endpoint, route configuration of the endpoints. Am I right?
Yes.
Sir, my one more question. Sir, what if I pass here /Narendra? Is it an integer or string?
It's a string.
Now when I detect, I'll get the ID, but it will get an exception. You can't able to convert. See here, What they are saying? Format exception. You got the point?
Got it, sir.
You see here, my endpoint is employee of ID. Value I'm getting is Narendra. But ID is integer, but I'm passing Narendra. How do I determine or how do I need to restrict the value is ID? How do I restrict the value as ID? You simply use colon. Say into 32. Got my point? You are going to define the type of value, data type of value in the URL by using colon in 32. I got my point. Tomorrow, if you want to pass a string, you have to say it is a string. Tomorrow, you want to pass as a date time, you have to make it as date time. Now you see here, it will not match. This ID will not allow you to go in. This endpoint map is not help you to work. You see here. Okay. I'm removing this. One second. See, now it is working. There's problem with the type it is taking. Okay. So you simply say employee slash 10. It will work.
Yes, sir.
If you pass employee slash Narendra, it will not allow. It will directly go to default URL. Where this default URL?
Default.
App.run method. This app.run will execute it. If you pass any value, say here, it will call the run method. Only when you pass any integer value, I can say 100246, it will work. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So to define the type of data, that optional parameter is needed. These are called as constraints. These are called as constraints. Or you got my point? Route constraints. So what is your scenario 4? What is your scenario 4? Data type constraint. Data type constraint of route value. While passing a value to detect code snippet is what? This is your code snippet. What is your code snippet? This code snippet you will use here request delegate method execution to call that paste here. Right. Now what you will do here? This scenario, we need to detect the parameter based on specific type. Or you got my point? I am
Yes,
going to detect my value based on the specific type. If the type change, for example, here I am passing instead of integer to string. What will happen? Will it detecting?
No, sir.
If I'm passing a date, will it detecting? No.
No, sir.
Why? Because this will help me to get the detection. Or you got my point?
Yeah.
So this is how you have to map all your routes. So what are all the type of types you can use in this routes? One is integer, 2 is string, 3 is date time, 4 is boolean, 5 is GUID. GUID.
The unique
Graphical user interface identifier. Identification. Or you got my point? So these are all the parameters you can detect by with the help of application. Clear my point?
Yes, sir.
So today we discussed 4 scenarios. What is that? Route parameter in ASP.NET Core. How to detect the route parameter? For that we are writing a course. And then scenario 2 is if I pass a value, how to get the default value. If the value is not passed, now you go here. If the value is default value is not passed, what will happen?
We'll take
what
the
will
default
happen?
value.
Huh?
We'll
The
take
route
the
will
default
not
value,
work,
sir.
right?
If you don't pass anything, it will normally take the default value, no, sir, generally.
That's it. So this is the concept. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Monday we'll discuss about custom constraints. Monday we are going to create a custom routes. Monday we are going to use custom
routes.
Routing config. Right. Once we done that, we can go for controller.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Sir.